Welcome to Sam Outside. I'm Sam, and well, I'm outside. I want to invite you to take a moment to consider how spending time in nature, participating and practicing in mindfulness helps build patience. Yeah, helps build calm. Something I believe is lacking in individuals in this day and age, especially of technology where everything is instant access, right? We don't allow ourselves permission to let that text or let that email sit with us, right? That request for acknowledgement, but also the request or the expectation of a reply. So, especially if there's emotion involved, right? So, just give it a moment, sit with it, right? I've been there. I have some moments in my life, especially some administrative responsibilities that I have. That yeah, sometimes there is urgency, and for those people who do send those things, like there's a little star, there's a little thing that tells me that this is urgent. You might even say the word urgent. Yeah, and so I'll prioritize that. But in our everyday lives, that pressure for access, right? And I do believe it's a generational thing, right? There's certain aspects of, hey, I grew up in the 80s and 90s where we didn't have access to the internet. It was just becoming a thing. We didn't have access to cell phones. I didn't get my first cell phone until I was in my 20s, right? So in the mid 90s, but it was an expectation. It was okay. It was normal to find yourself throughout your day to wait in a line. Yeah. So a couple days ago, found myself in queue in a line. I was maybe the eighth person in it, and it was toward the end of the day. So I knew that there were some business owners, some local proprietors that had their sealed safety bag of money to make a deposit or do that transaction. And in this particular branch, in this particular institution, there is one teller that's responsible for that. And like I said, I'm not the first person in line. I'm, very quickly not becoming the last. Gentleman walks in, right across the tellers, and goes straight to that business line. Now the teller didn't say anything. I looked around. I didn't understand what was happening. No one said anything, and I knew based on the expression of some of the others in the line that wasn't wasn't how the line worked. Teller didn't say anything. No one said anything. Well, I thought about it for a minute. I said something. That's who I am sometimes. Yeah. Excuse me, sir. You've passed the line. And it was in that moment that the teller looked up and said, "That's right, sir. There is a line. I'll take the next person in line." And he just held up his bag and said, "No, this is the business need." I said, "Yep." And there are others in line who waiting their turn, and with a little bit of abashed embarrassment, maybe a little bit of regret, maybe a little bit of angst, a little bit of injury to the pride, found themselves back in line. Well, the concept of waiting gave the impression that it was inconvenient. It was not fair. There's something about the body language. I mean, the whole room seemed to change. I was okay with it, and so were some of the other people in line with me. And yeah, eventually, I'm going to assume they got their turn. I had a quick transaction, but yeah, I see examples of that every day. Lack of patience, the need for instant gratification, and hey, I'm guilty of it. If I want to know something, I need a quick answer, I'll Google it right there on my phone, right there in my hand. But I grew up in an age where, yeah, if I wanted to know something, I had to make an effort to go to the library. And then I had to have the skill to know where to go in that library and find the resources that I needed. That took time, took patience, and spending time in nature, being mindful, has reconnected that need. It brings a calmness. So one of the first invitations on a guided forest therapy walk is to go through sensory work. And it takes as long as it takes, a couple moments. And I try not to define it by minutes. There's a couple minutes in every moment, but give it a couple moments where we just sit, be with ourselves, be quiet, be with nature. And we just go through some breathing exercises, something that I do all day. Different techniques achieve different results. And it's a good practice to get into. You can go down that rabbit hole. But after that, spend a couple moments just listening to nature, birds, water, wind. And then a couple moments just smelling, right? Smelling the earth, smelling what's coming on the wind, smelling whatever I've got on me or with me. And yeah, maybe it's the smell of the rain. Yeah, little nature. Just keep that for later. There you go. But that act of participating and practicing regularly mindfulness makes it okay and gives me permission, gives me the skill of being patient. And when I find myself in queue, or when I find myself, I'm okay with being calm, being still. It gives me time to sort of process. Right? So yeah, it served me well. And I believe that others in society could really benefit from discovering and practicing, participating in conscious efforts of practicing mindfulness, being still, using their senses, and just being present, being patient. Nature has a patience. Hey, it's constant change, but there's a rhythm to it. There's a balance. And there's a need for that in our lives. We had it. We're losing it. We need to recapture it. And it is a skill. And skill is not something unless it's practiced. So being in nature has made me a better person. Being a guide has helped me be more empathetic and finding myself in others' shoes, and how can I help with their capacity to cope, capacity to create change, physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, using nature. So I'm pretty lucky, and I know it. I don't take it for granted that my situation and circumstances allow more than enough opportunity to practice. But it is possible, no matter where you are. An apartment in the 20th story, to find local spaces, local parks, local trails. Maybe it's a vacation time where you might go camping. Maybe it's visiting a relative who's got a little more of a backyard and property. The capacity to slow down and appreciate and consider the patience in nature. And yeah, we get some frequent weather events. They're called storms, right? It's a mirror for our lives. But yeah, they're fleeting, right? This too shall pass. So learn patience. Give yourself permission to be calm, wait your turn, and let life happen. Let life come to you, right? It's going to happen one way or another, but your mindset and your preparedness, physically, mentally, emotionally, that's what a 2-hour guided forest therapy experience creates, right? There are no instant results. It takes time, it takes practice. And that's why the guided forest therapy walk takes 2 to 3 hours. And the act of being in nature should have a consideration of a minimum of 20 minutes. All right, you'll see results. You'll get what you need with time. So please go outside. Be patient. Find balance. All right. It's okay to wait. It's okay to let others wait. especially if it's what you need, right? And we all do. So slow down. Yeah. Knuckle Bear has a great song. Slow down. I'll listen to it. Maybe not every day, but a couple times a week. It's it speaks to me. Great lyrics. So this is me being calm. I'm not great at it, but I have my moments. And I'm not afraid to say something to somebody if they're being rude, right? Trying to teach the world some patience. Go outside. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.